And one of my favorite and honestly probably the best fly fishing casting instructor, Dave Leonard, who's the owner of Orvis Streamside up in Traverse City. I love Dave to death. And the guy that taught me, like, he's like, you're the second fastest person I've ever taught to double haul. The man is a freaking wizard. But he swore to me every great fly fisherman tears their rotator cuff. Oh, I know. And that's like throwing the gauntlet down to someone who actually likes to do research, who cares about the sport. So that's what really propelled me into doing that. So how do you prevent these issues? All right. So let's start with the shoulder, because it is the most injured thing. It's keeping those rotator cuff muscles strong.
This is the Aptitude Outdoors podcast, where we interview conservationists, hunters, anglers, and outdoorsmen and women to bring you the greatest stories, information, and advice from the best in the world.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Aptitude Outdoors podcast. Thanks for tuning back in. Today, our special guest is Dr. Jay Smith. I met him at the local fly fishing film festival they had here in Northwest Ohio, and he talked about his journey into fly fishing. He presented on the stage, and I went up and asked him if he'd want to come on the podcast, and it's a really awesome episode. He talks about his passion for his job and also his passion for fly fishing, how they intersect, and how you can maintain strength in your shoulders so you don't blow out your arm fly fishing. Let's talk about some of the really cool fish he's caught and all that fun stuff right here on the Aptitude Outdoors podcast. So let's get right into it. But first, a quick word from our sponsor.
Hey, I love hunting, I love fishing, and I love America. And with the 4th of July right around the corner, Uncle Louie's Fireworks wants you to celebrate this holiday responsibly. Uncle Louie's Fireworks is one of the only stores in the area that sells subtle fireworks, which emit less noise but still put on a great show, so you can enjoy a fireworks display without alarming wildlife, sensitive pets, and people who are averse to loud noises. They also offer fireworks ignition systems that allow you to set off fireworks with your phone to assure you still have all those very valuable fingers come your favorite hunting and fishing seasons. Uncle Louie's Fireworks, located at 7300 Schnipke Drive, Ottawa Lake, Michigan, just off US 23 Exit 1, wishes you a safe and happy 4th of July.
Jay, welcome to the podcast. Really cool to find someone locally who's into fly fishing, because I'm sure there are people out there, I just don't know any of them.
Yeah.
So are you from the Toledo area, or you move here for work? How'd you end up here?
No, I'm totally a transplant.
Okay.
You know, I grew up in Erie, PA, went to med school in Philadelphia, and then did all my training in Cleveland.
Okay.
So I am not a Toledoan. My wife is from Cleveland. This is as close to my in-laws as I'm allowed to be. No, they're wonderful people.
So I saw you at the Fly Fishing Film Festival you put on here in Toledo, or well, Maumee technically,
yeah,
which is right on the river. And I don't know if it's come through here before. I haven't really been into fly fishing for very long. I just started this year. But it's one of those things, as you know, you just get obsessed. I thought it would be a fun little thing. And now it's like consuming every waking moment. So how did that path start for you? Because from what I understand, you haven't been doing that long either.
No, yeah. So it's a drug. I think that's fair.
It really is.
I think it's a safer drug than some of the other things that are available,
Yeah.
right? You know, and the one thing about fly fishing that I like the most is the fact that my wife never really gets mad at me when I go buy a new fly rod or be like, oh,
Nice.
I'm going to go on a trip today up
What's
to
that like?
Schultz's. It's called buying real estate. And
There you
you've
go.
got to buy that real estate so you can take it back.
There you go.
So, I mean, you hit it, you know, Father's Day's coming. So I'd be like, I'm going to reel that in just a little bit. But this is, it's really, when you think about it, it's kind of a crazy story. You know, I've been a sports medicine doc in town for the past 7 years. And I was working for one of the health systems in town, and I was asked by our chief operations officer to become the medical director of the Toledo-Lucas County Health Department. And look, there's no joke, bro. I'm not a public health physician. I said this multiple times. This is not secret information that we're revealing here on the podcast today. And, you know, it was March. I remember this vividly. March 13th, 2020.
Okay.
And, you know, it was a little bit of voluntold, maybe would be the nice way to put that, right?
All been there.
Yeah, we've all been there. And, you know, I go sign up the next day, and the day after that, we got our first case of COVID in the county. And no one was prepared for this. I mean, I think that's 100% true. And you know, it was something that as a sports medicine doctor, you know, I'm not a critical physician when there's no sports going on, but, you know, we have the ability to put teams together, work together, you know, and do things without taking health resources. So it was not the most natural fit, but we made it work and, you know, created a bunch of like policies and testing protocols for first responders, nursing homes, and it went, I mean, it was tough, man. And it was meant to be a part-time gig. It was a part-time gig, short term. And I got burned out pretty quickly. I mean, I went from doing something that I love and that I think I'm pretty good at, we'll let the patients be a judge of that, to like a world of politics. And I'm not a politician. I don't think I do very well in that realm because I'm a physician. My job is to provide medical advice in clear, concise ways that people can understand and digest. And I was not okay mentally. I had previously started venturing into fly fishing just with a trip or two. I had a former hospital executive who became my friend, Denny McLean, who's a great dude, who just, every time that I saw him, he just kept poking me. And I think this goes to like what my brother says. The first rule about fly fishing is you tell everyone about fly fishing. So you're welcome, Jeremy. And, you know, Denny, he just broke me down. I ended up going up to Traverse City for the Trout Unlimited fly fishing school, which is phenomenal, super affordable 3-day course. I mean, from a fly casting standpoint, like I don't think you could do better. And I think the Orvis folks do it. You know, all the folks that put on courses, I think they do a great job. But I mean, you're spending $700 that includes lodging, instruction, and food, you know, and all equipment. And you get to go from zero to hero. And I was a bit of a freak, man. Like, I mean, I took to it like flies on well, you know what flies like.
Yeah.
And, you know, to the point where, you know, double hauling is a challenging fly fishing skill. I learned it in about eight minutes. That's how long it took me how to double haul.
Well, I've been working on it for about 8 days.
Yeah, you keep working. You'll get there. And I just kept growing. And I grew hard. I grew fast to the point where I'm like, man, I love this. I want to do this as part of what I do as a professional sports medicine physician, because, you know, this is what I would love to do when I retire at 55. In case there's any question, it's coming up. And it's something that wife supports, another very important fact. So I just kept advancing. Like I would go through all the levels of the courses. I just got pretty freaking good, pretty freaking fast. And to the point where earlier this year, TFO Rods gave me a pro deal, which is pretty freaking crazy.
Yeah. They make awesome rods.
Oh man, like, you know, I'm into spay casting, two-handed casting, which is, I think, probably one of the more challenging skills because it's all line management, all the lines in front of you. And if you screw up, you're going to hit in the face. So there's that, which I have not gotten a hook stuck in my own face. So I'm very proud of that skill,
very
by
good.
the way. And I swear, the TFO, like two-handed rods, like I've got an OK Legacy right now. Even the Pro 2, which was their base two-handed rod model that is now the Pro 3, these things, they cast like nobody's business, man. I mean, compared to some of the other rod manufacturers from a two-handed rod standpoint, it's disgusting. You know, I'm heading down to South Carolina about 2 weeks to do some red fishing. And you know, I got a 9-weight TFO for that. So, I mean, they've just got some like really great stuff. And from a price point standpoint, especially for like new anglers getting into fly fishing, I don't think you can beat the cost benefit analysis for that. Because, you know, one of the things that I've heard you say in the past is that, you know, fly fishing has this appearance from the outside of being a wealthy man's sport.
Yeah.
You know, of course, this is coming from a doctor right now. So this is not, it's like aiding and abetting. I'm not doing a great job, right?
It's okay.
Yeah. But it's not. And that's the whole thing. You know, so much about fly fishing is it has to, and it should be an inclusive and welcoming environment for anyone that's interested, because Why I fly fish, and this is the longest answer to your one question ever, probably.
No, you believe you're wrong. No, there's been many.
Oh, great. Excellent. I'm killing it. Why I fly fish is because I could spend an entire day on the water, an entire day casting. I could be tired. I could be sore, but I become happy. Mm-hmm. And what's crazy is we know the research backs up what I'm saying. Like, I'm not just making stuff up. I mean, I could be. But one day fishing is enough of a positive hormone boost to last 2 to 3 weeks.
I 100% believe that.
Well, and that's the thing. So it's like the known knowns and the known unknowns. Mm-hmm. That's both. Like, we know it helps us. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like I'm in a better place as a father, as a husband, as a doctor, and maybe some other things too. But those things make us better by just being outside.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing is that we live, fortunately or unfortunately, in a society that is technologically perhaps overconnected. Maybe
I would say definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. I've had issues with technology. I mean, my screen time has gone over 7 hours a day. And, finding ways to disconnect is super important. Mm-hmm. It's important for many different reasons. I mean, I'm nailing like 2 hours a day now. So I'm not giving fly fishing full credit for that. But, I want my children to grow up and to be, welcoming the outdoors more than welcoming the indoors.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, no, I actually recently cut my screen time down to minimal hours a day, to the point where the only time I'm on social media is to post stuff about the podcast, essentially, or if I catch a sweet fish, and then it's off. Yeah. Because it was a problem for me for a long time, because you just get in that cycle, and it's like, I read this book, I don't remember what it was called, but it was basically like, it's kind of disgusting how much time you waste on your phone. 100%. And I thought about it. I was like, I could get so much more done. And ever since I've done that, I've made a documentary. I'm working on a fly fishing documentary. I get to go fishing 3-4 days a week instead of sitting on my couch going doom scrolling.
Yeah.
And I think it's really true. And I kind of have a rule, like, I don't have my phone when I'm fishing.
Yeah, that's great.
I don't want it.
No.
You get out there. And one of the things that's nice about Northwest Ohio, I mean, it's not a place where people come to fly fish, I would say.
Not at all.
Not at all.
No.
But there's always a place you can find where you can fish.
Yeah.
And I have my fly rod in my car right now. It's a TFO NXT black label combo, nice. My first ever fly rod.
I heard about that. We need to get you a proper fly rod, bro. Yeah. I mean, we got to upgrade that one for sure. Not saying it's bad, but
it's fun for catching panfish.
Because that's what, an 8-foot rod, 7.5-foot rod?
It's a 9-foot.
Is it a 9-foot?
It's a 9-foot.
Oh, that's good.
But when you don't know what you're doing, it's a great rod, because it's not a $80 Aventic off of Amazon, which, I always preach, whatever you can afford, just get it.
Yeah.
Because you'll eventually learn.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of like what all the people I've told me, everywhere I've been across the country have told me, is when you fish in a spot that's difficult and you come somewhere where the fishing's good, you're going to be a badass out there. You're going to just be slaying it.
Well, it's about the cast, you know, and that's the thing. Like, a good fly rod will make you 10 to 15% better. Mm-hmm. Casting is the majority of it. And for us, that's where we spend the amount of time in the research and finding out how people get hurt while fly fishing, and then hopefully going to the point of how do we prevent injuries in the future.
Yeah.
That's how I combine my vocation with my vacation.
Yeah. And before we dive, I definitely want to inform people about the mechanics and how to not hurt themselves, because I've gotten pretty sore fly fishing because my technique is all taught by me, which is not a great thing. I mean,
we can help you with that.
Yeah. And so I want to know, you were on the Orvis podcast, which is super cool. I listened to the episode. It's a lot of great information.
Yeah.
It's just, that's like everybody's fly fishing grandpa. You got to talk to the man. What was that like?
What a good dude.
Yeah.
Like, Tom Rosenbauer is a genuine human being. Like,
the man.
For real, right? So there's so many good people in fly fishing, and I'll be honest with you, like, I just cold called him. Like I reached out via email. He's like, dude, this sounds awesome. We started talking, going back and forth. He's like, oh, you want to come on the podcast? I'm like, heck yeah, I do. And the thing is, there isn't like, fly fishing is somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 12 million people in the United States, right? Which I think is a bit of an underestimate number because we don't know how much the pandemic boosted those numbers. There's a new fly fishing movie out, full-length feature film out, Mending the Line, which I hear is excellent. I haven't seen it yet. But, I think it's a sport that keeps on going because, number one, it's the ultimate social distancing sport.
Yeah.
So God forbid another pandemic happens, we can at least get away from people. Number two, you can do it till you'll die. I mean, you have to be able to pretty much walk. And you don't even need a rotator cuff to cast, which is crazy. And I've actually proven this with some of my patients. It's just that whole about being outdoors. And look, at the end of the day, it comes down to if you want to live a longer, happier, healthier life, you have to be physically active.
Absolutely.
And this is a great way to do that for folks who may not have all the physical abilities they did in their 20s or 30s.
Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, you'll appreciate this as a doctor. I went to the doctor this morning.
Oh, well done.
And they did the whole, got my blood drawn a couple days ago and did the whole tests. And she goes, everything looks awesome, which is never what you expect to hear, especially as like an American. And she's like, what are you doing? I was like, honestly, I'm sleeping more and I'm exercising and I'm fishing a lot. And she was like, sounds like you're living the dream. And I was like, kind of. Yeah. I get to. It's like fishing brings the stress level down. Sometimes it brings it up a little bit when they come off the hook. That's one of the most frustrating moments in life.
No, it's going to happen.
Oh, that's but it's just like...
No, you can't. See, that's the thing. Like, at your stage in fly fishing, like, I just think that you might you want to catch as much as you can. That's one of those stages. Yeah. And you just got to be cool with it, man. You're like, oh, biscuits, that fish got off.
Yeah.
And just be like, oh, well, you know what? At least I put a good cast out there. At least they took the fly. And, I almost had it. And it's going to be all right. I feel like I'm Stuart Smalley right there, if you remember that reference. But, I mean, you're talking about four very important things. Well, 3 out of the 4 very important things that you just didn't realize. So, number 1 is exercise. Exercise is a drug. And it is a drug that pretty much is a safe prescription for any health condition. Any health condition, period.
I agree.
You're talking mental health. Mental health, we know, has been underappreciated for years. And it's mental health drives a lot of things. If you're depressed, man, you're not going to go exercise. You're probably not going to eat right. Eat right nutrition, number 3. If you don't take care of yourself, how are you able to take care of other people? And as a physician, that's what I look at. For me to be at my best, I need to have this ready to go.
Yeah. All
the time. Like, and even if it's something that's like, man, this is a difficult case. I don't know, what to do, and that does happen sometimes. So you've got exercise, you've got taking care of your mental health. Number 3 was nutrition, making sure that we were taking in the right nutrients that we can. And number 4 you hit on is sleep. Sleep is another super underappreciated thing. Good high quality sleep is recovery. I deal with a lot of sports related concussions as a sports medicine doctor, and sleep is just terrible in these kids that we see. And the reason is that sleep quality, going to sleep, it's like your brain is a computer, and that computer needs time to fix itself. And the best time to do that is when you're in your REM, your deepest possible sleep. And that's how things get better and heal. So, those are the 4 things that we look at as part of longevity and staying alive to avoid the 4 terrible things in the world. So,
well, it goes back to the old saying, everybody wants to do anything they can to lose weight and be healthy except for exercise, sleep, all that basic stuff. So going from 0 to 100 with fly fishing, we both have that similar journey because I didn't think I'd like it. I honestly had a friend who's the editor of Texas Fishing Game Magazine, his name's Chester Moore, and I go down to Texas once or twice a year and hang out with him, and we do stuff and film stuff for his nonprofit and stuff, and he's like, dude, this year, just get any fly rod and come down, and we're just going to go and have fun. I'm like, all right.
I'll do it for you, man. And like I said, I'm obsessed. I just absolutely have fallen in love with it. I mean, in the Midwest here, I love catching bass.
Yeah.
Catching bass on a 5-weight is nuts.
Dude,
it's just like
try catching a steelhead on a 5-weight. That is a whole story that I can tell you that I literally hated my life for.
Well, I mean, yeah, we'll get into the fishing stories here. I absolutely love the simplicity and yet the complexity of it, because it's like when you're fishing bass on traditional tackle.
Yeah.
Like I was in Lake Erie last weekend off the islands with my kayak, and I brought a rod. There was a big kayak festival. I went out there. And everybody wants to go on this island and screw around. I'm like, I know there's smallmouth out
absolutely,
here.
right in the rocks.
I want to catch them. So I'm just ripping a crankbait, and it's just like bam, bam. But with fly fishing, they can be turned off by like the weirdest things in the fly and the color. And I've literally changed flies from a big giant streamer, the biggest one I could throw on my 5-weight, to a little tiny thing,
like a woolly bugger,
or something
leech
like
imitator
that.
there.
And they just immediately nailed
Hammer
that.
it,
And it's like, what's different? You know, and
I love smallies on the fly. So I mean, if you haven't fished with Schultz Brothers up in Ipsy,
that's a goal,
dude. Come on, we'll hook you up. We'll do it. My boy Nick is a guy that I use all the time. Those guys, I mean, they are the smallies on the fly kings. And the Huron River being so close, being an hour and a half away, is such a great smallmouth fishery that is totally underappreciated. And the same thing. So if you're in southeastern Michigan, southern Michigan, and you hit like the Grand, another great smallmouth fishery. And to me, I think that it's much more fun to catch bass on the fly.
It is,
because it's work. And this is what I love about fly fishing, is the fact that you could know everything and still know absolutely nothing. And it's species to species difference. It's catching bass on flat water, catching bass on moving water. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, it is so hard, and you will never learn it all. And that's the thing. Like, I think in type A personality, particularly physicians, we always strive to be the best. The cool thing is, I know I will never be the best fly fisherman in the world, but I'm going to keep trying, and I'm going to keep learning, and I'm going to keep plugging away. And I love that whole learning and growing and being cool with mistakes, and the whole thing is just awesome.
So let's hear about this 5-weight steelhead, because that sounds like a wild ride.
Oh my God. Like, I'm not the brightest light bulb in the Christmas tree. I think that's the first thing. Like, I'm smart, but there's things when I do stupid things. So this is in a place called the Garbage Hole. We won't give away fishing spots today. But what it is, essentially, it's a creek that goes out to Lake Erie that stops at a dam to the point where the steelhead can't jump up. I mean, there's no flowway to get up there. It is what it is. So they're essentially stuck at that area. And I was nymphing, and I'm going to be honest, I hate nymphing. I feel like it's the most boring form of fly fishing, which ironically, in the study that we just finished, was the most popular form of fly fishing. From nymphs were the most commonly thrown fly, which kind of blew my mind a little bit. That's a whole nother discussion I'm not sure I can answer. I mean, it's middle of November. It's balls cold, you know, and I'm warm enough, and I'm like, I didn't have anything other than my 9-foot 5-weight. So first I hook one up, and I almost trout set, for lack of a better word, and I keep my finger on the line. I didn't let the steelhead run out, rips off. I'm like, oh, whatever. I'm like, all right, fine. So I keep going. Probably an hour later, I hook one up, and it's fat. I mean, this is an 8-pounder, and it's just like
ripping,
shaking. I'm like, I didn't do arms today, but I'm getting my workout. And they're like, oh, you caught that on a 5-weight? I'm like, yeah, dude, this is the only fly rod I have. And I'm like, and I was like, so gassed. I'm like, I'm done. I caught one. I'm done. Cashing out right now. Yeah. I'm cold. I caught a fish. I'm going home. So I mean, it was cool because you could, there's a lot of spin anglers on the side, and they're watching us like rip fish over and over again, and like they'll catch 1 to every 3 or 4 we caught. And I don't think it was technique or anything crazy. It's just that we were able to get to the point and get to the fish a little bit easier. But that was pretty dumb. I don't even know if it was nuts. I think it was dumb. But I love doing dumb things, man. It's more fun that way.
It is.
Yeah.
One of the things, I specifically now I really like targeting bass in general. Like give me any rod and I just love going after them. But the thing with the fly rod is it's so much different than, because there's like, if you watch YouTube on how to bass fish, there are 10, 100,000 billion techniques. And it's like, for this situation, use this. For this situation, use it. For me with bass fishing on the fly, it's like I have maybe currently 6 to 8 different flies that I own for bass. And I'm like, I'm just going to cycle through all of these throughout the whole day and see what happens. And when you nail them, it's just like, hold on for the ride. Yeah. And it's so fun. And they're just, no fish is that intelligent. They're fish. People have this misconception that fish are smart.
But they outsmart us all the time, Paul.
They do. But they're finicky. They can be weird, and bass can be really weird sometimes. But I don't know. The first bass I caught here in Ohio on the fly, it was actually up in Michigan. It just doesn't compare on a clear water lake, watching them just predatory follow that fly and then just hammer it. Oh. And then the rod just bends in half. And I don't know. I never thought I'd be into it, like I said, but now I'm absolutely obsessed. So what are some of the coolest experiences you've got to do fly fishing? Because I've only done bass. Panfish is freaking awesome too. I love it. And then done some trout fishing unsuccessfully. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So first off, let's start with pan fishing, because I think this is important. And I think
thank you for the panfish flies, by the way.
Yes, you're most welcome. Those are special concoctions that I did. I did actually tie those. Those aren't like professionally tied. There, this is what I call it's the pink lemonade. And for some reason, it just pisses off bass and panfish to the point where they just go nuts. And then there's a red and black version of the same basic thing. I don't know. I like tying with foam. That's a whole different can of worms that we could open up for a whole day, it sounds like. But, I think pan fishing is so important. Like, if you want people to get into the sport, you have to make the sport fun and accessible, right? And, what's great about any panfish, particularly bluegill, is it's fun as hell to catch them on the fly.
So fun.
And it's easy.
It is.
Like, you don't have to do a great cast, and especially for like floating flies like that, it's just a little strip and they go nuts, right? And you're hammering them left and right. And to get people in, I think you have to let them catch fish first.
I 100% agree.
And that's the thing. Like, look, everybody associates fly fishing with trout. Trout on a fly is dope. Like, nobody will argue with that. Any of the trout, the salmonid species, your salmon themselves, and obviously all three of the main trout species that we have around here, even though there's not a ton of rainbows, and then of course steelhead. These are great fish to catch on the fly, but they're not that easy to catch on the fly. And I probably spent 2 years working on panfish and bass before actually doing a proper effort to catch trout. So I'll go up to the Au Sable, the holy waters, the catch and release, fly fish only land. I was ready to kill it. Like, it wasn't, I was like, all I needed to know was what fly I needed to tie on, and a little sulfur. Like, I think it was a 16 sulfur. And I was just like, anytime I saw a fish rise, great, cast over there, caught it, catch over. And there's obviously bigger fish. But again, it was at a time for me where I wanted to make sure that I knew what I was doing, get a proper drift, and actually get takes. And it wasn't during a hatch, which everybody talks about hatches. Like, unfortunately, it's not that easy to catch a hatch, especially when you're time limited on when you can actually go fishing. But I think that, like, unless you're going to one of the fly fishing clubs where you have fish ready, willing, and able to eat, starting with trout is extremely difficult. They are intelligent, even though they're still a fish species. And particularly in a place where you catch and release, they see flies all the time.
Oh, yeah.
They're not that dumb. And you got to build up to that, you know? And I'm not sure what, I mean, I guess permit, good joke, is probably one of the hardest species to catch on the fly, I guess.
Unless you're at the Fly Fishing Film Festival and
Every
everybody's
move
just
it's about permit.
They just make it look so easy.
I need to catch all 4. I need the Grand Slam. Let's go get the Grand Slam, which would be awesome. I'd love to fish permit, bonefish. I'm all about that, right? But, you know, I think if you want to get in the sport, you got to do it smart. You got to do it easy. And I think that's the thing. Like my kids, you know, when Olander Park has their trout derby, of which you really can't catch any size trout because they're all farm trout. They're in the middle and they're all low. So if you try and catch them on a fly rod, it's not going to happen. But, you know, I'll put my kids on bluegill and they love it. So I'll cast for them. I'll have them retrieve. We'll set the hook and I'll let them bring it in. And I think that is such a great way to get kids involved with fly fishing, and even neophytes, folks who've never done this before. And it's fun, man. Like, I would love to. So here's my next progression of things that I want to do. Obviously, every fly fisherman wants a bamboo rod. That's just not in the cards. I need to do a little bit better at work to get one of those. But like fiberglass, glass rods, like a 5-weight glass
I
on
have
a
one.
Do you? Nice. But if like using glass on bass, that sounds like a really funny, like that's a whole podcast title.
Glass on bass.
You know, that's going to be nuts because they just bend it and you're just going to have to work those rods. And, you know, I know it's a very circumference answer, just going where I want to go with this one. But, you know, I think that's important because fly fishing is super accessible. Look, we have great metro parks in Toledo. And I had a great idea for you too. I was thinking about this one night when I couldn't fall asleep. We should talk to the metro parks about having a tournament per se, where you've got to catch a fish in every metro park that holds fish.
So
there's a bunch of them. There's
Farnsworth on the river.
Yeah, but Glass City Metro Park. There's
Sidecut has a pond and the river.
Yep, correct. What's it called? Out in Holland. There's a little pond out there.
Oh, yeah. I don't know the name of it. I know what you're talking about. And then there's Oak Openings has 2.
Yeah. Yep.
Wiregrass Lake.
Wiregrass Lake is the one in Holland. Yeah.
Okay. And there's another one in not far from here, just up the road off of like Garden or maybe the next road up.
You see where I'm going with this one?
Yeah.
How could that be fun?
Get a badge or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Fly fishing badge.
A passport where you could stamp it at everyone.
Bluegill season.
I feel like it's got to get a little warmer for that. I love this idea. Yeah. I just love a challenge, you know? So
I feel like we'd get super competitive with it.
No, I mean, you'd probably lose, so there's that.
Like I said.
I mean, it's okay to come in second, you know? You're just the first
I'm used to it.
Yeah, so, you know, I just think, you know, it's such a great sport. It's a lifetime sport. You know, it's got this terrible association.
It really needs a PR
makeover. Like, it's not an old white dude sport. Like, I'm sorry to say that, you know, and unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, the mean average of folks, so we did the largest number fly fishing study ever done, which is really terrible because it was only about 300 respondents, a little under 300 respondents. But that was almost double the previous one because there's just not a lot of literature on the sport. And the average age was around 66 in the original study. We're down to about 64. So you can see the age starting to creep under Medicare. But I mean, I think that, you know, it comes down to getting kids, getting anyone involved with this. This is an accessible sport. Pretty much, I mean, a worm on a fly, squirmy wormies, man. San Juan wormies, they do work. Everything works on a fly. You just have to know how to put it where it needs to be.
Yeah, and like my wife likes it, and I never thought she would. She does. I mean, if you are just casting to anything, bluegill, whatever, just a simple cast. Doesn't have to go 70 feet. Just a simple basic cast, and you catch fish. You're like,
what the heck?
This is so fun.
Right?
And I think it could be a lot more accessible around here, but it has that stigma, which I had for a long time. If you go back 2 years ago and listen to this podcast a year ago, I was vehemently like, I will never fly fish.
Yeah.
Until I was like essentially forced.
Look at you now.
Yeah. And it's been... I like that it's easy to travel with.
Yep.
I got a 6-piece rod that I can fit in a carry-on backpack, and I take it everywhere I go.
But here, I'm going to stop you right there because you don't need a 6-piece. So one of the things that you don't think of is, number one, so there's a bunch of ways to carry fly rods on a plane. And you can read about it all you want. But
I do, but I would rather hear it from somebody who's done it.
So I fished the Provo River this year out in Utah. And I was literally out there for probably 48 hours. So I literally did everything in a backpack, you know. And what I did is I strapped my rod on the outside of my backpack.
And they didn't say anything.
Not a word. I even said, hey, I've got sharp hooked flies. And they're like, oh, no, that's cool. That's awesome. And then we talk about fly fishing for like 30 seconds to a minute. So you can get so the regular 4-piece rods will fit on an overhead compartment. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll strap it onto my book bag. And then I'll take it out and I'll put it in the back of the carry-on compartment, which is great. You just can't forget your fly rod, right?
Fair.
Yeah, the only problem is with that trip was the retrieve on my reel somehow got compressed and it broke off. So we won't name the reel company. It was not TFO. But I was very disappointed, and it would be the last time that I buy any of that company's products. So, but I mean, you know, I just went to a Bass Pro Shop or Cabela's and got one of the $40 reels that all I needed to do was work for a day or two, you know, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but it should go to the education point is you should always have a backup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have, so I started with that TFO rod. Absolutely. I still love that rod. I mean, it is, it stays in my car.
Yeah.
It is in my car permanently. And one of the things that I've, learned from the Orvis podcast from Tom is like, fly line isn't going to get messed up in the heat of your car. Nothing. You can leave it in there. I keep my chest pack in there. And if I see something, I drive a lot. I'm all over the place all the time. If I see something, I will pull over
fishy.
and be like, just let it rip.
Pound it.
And I also have, I met a guy down in Texas. I was at a conference. His name's Captain Scooby. You should talk to him.
I need to meet Scooby.
He's got a podcast coming out, which I'm editing for him. So I can get you in touch with him.
Let's talk.
And he's a fly fishing guide in Texas on Toledo Bend, and he builds his own custom rods.
Yeah.
So for me editing his podcast, he built me a custom rod, the fiberglass 5-weight. He splines them, he does all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I've never owned a nice rod in my life. The most I ever owned was like a Fluger $100 combo. That was the pinnacle for me. And so this rod's like a $550 for just the rod.
Yeah.
He gives me this rod. It's got a Orvis with Clearwater reel.
Probably Helios, probably.
No, it's the Clearwater. He built it on the Clearwater.
Okay.
And 5-weight line, weight forward bass line, essentially. I took it out, and I was having trouble casting past like 40 yards.
Yeah.
Dude, I launched this thing.
So it's the thing is it's about speed of the cast. So what happens is glass is slow, you know, and most rods, especially your graphite rods, are fast to moderately fast rods, and some of them, like the ones I like to buy, are super fast. You just whip the crap out of that 9-weight. TFO makes a great rod. You know, that's the thing about glass. It's patience. And glass and bamboo have a lot in common when they're both slower rods. And you know, for me, you know, I have a very powerful forward cast. And sometimes it's slowing down that forward cast. And you know, your Presbyterian, your 10 and 12, which is not actually real, casting method.
River runs through it.
Thank you. Yes. Norman McLean. It's just, it doesn't work. And, you know, what's great about like nice rods is that no matter how bad you cast, they usually can make up for some of them. So my first rod was an Orvis Clearwater 9-foot 5-weight. And it's my beater rod. It's my go-to rod. But my favorite rod, my favorite single hand rod right now, and I've had this for a while, is the Orvis Helios H3, which is just disgusting, and it casts like a dream. But one of the things that people don't think of as much is being a fly line snob. You know, making sure that you put the right engine in the car and getting a proper fly line for that. So I know both Airflow and SA make awesome bass lines, which are a combination of shooting heads and floating heads, floating weight forward for shooting heads, essentially.
It's essentially what mine is.
Yeah, but what's interesting is that the science, which I hate, is the textured line. So textured line, the science is that 50% of the time it's going to hit the guide, but the other 50% of the time it's floating in air. So the likelihood of being able to launch a textured line is better because of that, even though it sounds like death when you're casting it. So, I mean, I love the science behind fly lines. What's great, like redfish, you're going to be using essentially the same basic type, except you need a softer head to land, quieter, because they're a little bit spookier than bass. Bass, you want to wake them up and make them get excited and go after a fly. And I think that's so much what bass fishing is so awesome with flies is you just want to piss off the fish.
Yeah.
You piss off the fish, they're going to come get you. You know, it's so much fun.
So, yeah, and that's what I've learned, too. I mean, I've watched, which, weirdly enough, one of the best fly fishing instructional videos is from right here in Ohio, which nobody would expect nationwide. Mad River Outfitters.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they
Brian
are...
Freshing, good dude.
Yeah. He's
awesome dude.
always putting out awesome videos. It's to the point now where I've watched so many of his videos that I'm tying my own freaking leaders like a psychopath.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's so fun.
That is an economical move. That is not a psychopath move. I
just have nothing better to do in my life. That I sit at home and my wife's like, "Are you tying more leaders?" I'm like,
yes.
I was like, she's like, you've used one.
Look at my blood knot.
I'm like, this thing is sweet. No, I'm obsessed with the formulas and buying the stiff. Got to start with a stiff butt.
That's right.
so no, I'm absolutely, I love it, and I love that it's both simple and complex, and it can be as insane or as down the rabbit hole as you want, or it can just be something you do when you screw around.
Well, I don't think that's any different than fly tying. You know, and that's. I
haven't gone down that rabbit hole yet.
You will.
I know I will because I
go down that hole.
I have a problem.
You do. It's a drug. It is a real drug. So fly tying is like your winter obsession, right? Like unless you're traveling or you have plans, you don't have your next fly fishing trip planned, which is so important to know when the next time you're going to go out is and have a plan to go out. It gets you through. You know, and I love Game Changers. Blaine Chocolate is good dude. Those flies are just disgusting. They are so freaking potent. The articulated flies, it's insane, and they're actually pretty easy to tie with the materials. Yeah. So but I mean that's the next drug, and then the drug after that is creating your own fly patterns. But like, oh, I saw this, but I kind of like it. Like that pink lemonade fly. That looks like nothing in nature. There is nothing that looks like that, but it just pisses off a fish enough. We're like, I'm going to go eat that, you know?
And I will tell you.
Guaranteed to work.
I have noticed, and for whatever reason, the ones with the little wiggly legs, bluegill go
silly legs.
Nuts.
Yeah, they do like the silly legs. So technically, I watched the videos too to tie, and I didn't go. Anyone taught me. Literally, somebody gave me their fly tying stuff because I don't use it. So, and I had it for a whole winter. He's like, I don't care how much crap you use. And I watched the Tim Flagler videos, which by the way, another good dude. I met him. He is just again so down to earth, so nice. He's like, I actually suck at fly fishing. I just know how to make videos, which he will openly say again and again. And it's just you just figure out how to do stuff, and it's a great dexterity. It's a great getting away. It is not economical.
I've heard that.
I have a feeling my wife's going to listen to this podcast because if for some reason she does creep on what I do,
we'll bleep this part out. It'll just be a long bleep.
Yeah, and I made this argument. I said, Bree. I said, if I tie my own flies, it's going to be cheaper than me buying flies. Oh, okay. Yeah, it sounds great, hon. Yeah. I mean, it may. I don't remember the last time I bought flies though.
Well, that's good.
So to that point, at the same time, I mean, you don't want to look at my loadout kit. Like, I think I counted today. There's maybe 6 full fly boxes.
Oh Lord. I mean, hey.
I mean, you got to be ready, right? So I've got my dry trout, I've got my streamers, I've got my poppers, I've got my large streamers. You know, like, and you gotta have your nymphs, you got to have your small flies. You know, and you don't know what you're going to need. And one of my favorite things to do too is to improperly, notice how I said that, try and predict what flies I'm going to need and pack my Go Fly box. You know, like with a little bit of everything in there, a sprinkling of things. But yeah.
The worst thing that I've found is when you find a fly that you absolutely love and that's crushing it, and then you have one of them and it gets caught in a tree or a fish nails it and it rips off.
Never happens to me.
Well, now I'm screwed.
Yeah, so there is a cure for that, all right? So
Buy 10 of them.
Not quite. The actual answer is buy 2, all right? Because if you lose one, then you have a backup, and then you know what fly to go buy the next time you're at the store if you need to do that. So 2 is actually the safest answer, just in case. I think we had a cicada hatch, about 2 or 3 years ago. So, I have 2 cicadas just in case we get another hatch. Of course, that happens every, 10 to 15 years or something like that.
Gotta be ready.
Got to be ready to go. But yeah, two is pretty solid, and it's just, and then have your regular flies. Like any leech pattern, I think it's always safe, like a black or a green woolly bugger. It's a safe fly to have in your arsenal. San Juan worm or silly worms, again, safe to have in your arsenal. Always do it. I love a Prince nymph. I think, it's just obviously the king of all the nymphs, or soon to be king of all the nymphs. And having that it's a great nymph fly to have in the pond.
I think.
Yeah, I feel like they get beat up really easy.
I bought it in Oklahoma.
That's okay.
The first place I ever fly fished was Oklahoma.
H-A-L-A-M-A. Yeah.
And I just went to the fly shop, and they're like, buy all this stuff. And I was like,
yes,
cool. And then I was like,
$100 later.
Yeah. I was like,
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah. I was like, just put it in the cup. And they're like, we saw you coming a mile away, you idiot.
Reeling it in.
So what do you prefer? And we'll eventually get to the stuff about your body. This is just too much fun.
That sounds creepy.
Yeah, well, what do you prefer for bass? Like if we were gonna walk out here and go to the nearest lake, what would you
microchanger, Blake chocolate microchanger. I love those things.
I don't know what that is.
It's small articulated fly. So. Okay. Game changers, microchangers, I think they're disgusting. I think they hammer it. But here's the thing. You don't have to have those in your arsenal. Like, that'll catch bass. Without blinking, I can't tell you how many bass I've caught on that. My friend Denny, who got me into fly fishing, who lives out in Michigan now, fishes on flat water, and then goes to Florida, that catches bass in every single state that he's ever caught it on.
Well, luckily I'm going to Florida in a few weeks.
There you go.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and hopefully you'll text me like, "Hey, Jay, I will." I'll be like, "Yes." But I think a stimulator pattern is really what you're trying to do. You're trying to piss them off. Yeah. It sounds dumb, but it's 100% true. I just like game changers because not only do they typically piss a bass off, they also look like a bait fish. Bass love to chase bait fish. Bass love to chase bait fish into the shallows, especially when they're feeding. Mm-hmm. The micro changer and a game changers, I think they're a great fly to have in your arsenal. And I think that when you get used to the material, it's actually not terrible to tie. And it's one of those, they have patented, of course, fly tying material. It's like $10 for a strip, but that'll get you 15, 20 flies. Wow. So, as long as you have the articulated shanks and you put it all together, you make it kind of look like a bait fish, you color it with a Sharpie, it'll catch fish, man. That's the thing. Like, whatever it is, as long as it's catching fish, that's all that matters. Because it doesn't really matter what fly it is. You just have to find what works for you on that day and then be cool with it.
Yeah, I saw a video last night on Instagram. It was, do you follow Ohio Women on the Fly?
I do not. I will put that on my to-add list.
Awesome. It's just a women's fly fishing group, and
absolutely.
They're all, out of the state of Ohio, so they're awesome. But one of their founders, Jessica, she's really always hammering on smallmouth.
Yeah.
She had a short video clip of her maybe they were just in the boat and it was swimming along, but the fly, it pulsed, and it's just so cool to see it. It pulsed, and then it streamed out, and it looked like a big bait fish or something, and then it pulsed, and I'm like, this looks so awesome. Yeah.
Smallmouth
probably would tear that
crush it. It's the articulated flies. I think this is the most recent trend in fly fishing, the articulating flies, and they're annoying because they're a lot of pieces, and for some people, they think it's waste because typically you used to cut the shank or the hooks off the flies just to use the shanks. You don't need to do that anymore. There's great materials out there that do that. I would love, I'll be blunt. And the other thing too, poppers. God, you pass on a popper is so dope. I love some deer hair poppers that are frogs, and it's just, I can tie with deer hair. I can't tie as well as some of the guys that you see out there, and commercially tied deer hair is way better probably than what we would buy. But you know, a frog deer hair popper, it's like a drug, man, especially when there's frogs. So when you hear that tut, 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 you hear the frogs jumping into that little pond, like, yeah, I'm going to throw a frog out, see what happens.
Yeah. It's
hammer it.
It's awesome. And so let's dive a little bit in here to the preventative side of fly fishing. Since you are a doctor, I'm sure you know
Allegedly.
a little bit about this.
I mean, I'm licensed to practice in states of Ohio and Michigan.
You got to support your fly fishing habits somehow. So...
Hey, what's up, everyone? James Appleton here, co-founder of Absolute Aid. Welcome to the Seek to Do More program. This program will help you help yourself by developing the daily habits that will elevate your entire life. Over the next 30 days, you'll complete the doers list every single day. And the doers list includes 1, do something physical. 2, follow and stick to your diet of choice. 3, read a real book. 4, further your education on purpose. 5, dedicate time to your spiritual life. And 6, dedicate time to your hobbies. So if you're ready to take a structured, proven approach to build the daily habits that will allow you to get the most out of yourself, your time, and your life every single day, the Seek to Do More program is your blueprint. So make a choice, commit to yourself, sign up below, and let's get started.
So as a fly caster, and luckily this is video, if people want to see this part specifically, they can come over here to YouTube and watch it. But just try and describe it the best you can. I know it's a little difficult when you're talking about moving your body. So for long term, say I'm going to be fly fishing for hopefully another 50, 60 years if I'm lucky. What can I do to prevent blowing up my shoulder, tearing a rotator cuff, even, you know, I already have a little bit of elbow pain, wrist
too much
pain.
wrist. I can tell you the problem. Your problem's too much wrist. Yeah. So let's talk about what do we know from a data standpoint, right? We know that the 3 most common injuries in from most injured to least injured, number 1 is shoulder, number 2 is elbow, number 3 is wrist hand. All right. Now, what I love about doing this study was, you know, people be like, well, I tripped in the river and I got cut and I was infected and I almost lost my leg. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I appreciate you. That does not help the study. That is not like mineable data that I can actually do something with, but I appreciate you taking the time to do the study. And when we look at that research, just under 50% is shoulder. And we know that the shoulder, the elbow, and even the wrist, when we look at pitching and overhead throwing motion, it's all connected. So for me, I'm always big at going from center out. So if you have a leg issue, I'm going to start with your hip and your low back and your core before I work on your knee or work on your ankle or foot. Now, obviously, there's times when that's not always true. But when an upper extremity issue, you want to work on the shoulder. All right. So there are 4 sentinel muscles that are the stabilizing muscles of the shoulder. Those are called the rotator cuff, or for some people, the rotator cup. That is not appropriate, but just in case you say it, I understand what you're saying. And those muscles, the supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, subscapularis, are actually in the back. They're right around your shoulder blade. And what they do is they control the small motions of the shoulder. So they bring your arm up the first 10 to 15, sometimes 20 degrees. Yep, lifting up. And then they ding out and in. And what that does is your shoulder's like a beach ball. It's a beach ball on a golf tee, all right? And there's cartilage that makes that tee a little deeper. But that rotator cuff muscles, those 4 muscles surround that head and keep it in place. So it's great to have the faux shell muscles, you know, your pecs, your delts, your lats, your traps. But if you are not rotator cuff strong, you are going to be in danger. And, you know, a lot of the reason that we started doing the studies was because I got pissed off like anything else in life. And one of my favorite and honestly probably the best fly fishing casting instructor, Dave Leonard, who's the owner of Orvis Streamside up in Traverse City. I love Dave to death. And the guy that taught me, like, he's like, he's like, you're the second fastest person I've ever taught to double haul. The man is a freaking wizard. But he swore to me every great fly fisherman tears their rotator cuff. Oh, I know. And that's like throwing the gauntlet down to someone who actually likes to do research, who cares about the sport. So that's what really propelled me into doing that. So how do you prevent these issues? All right. So let's start with the shoulder because it is the most injured thing. It's keeping those rotator cuff muscles strong. And that doesn't mean like, oh, I'm going to go pound out the 50s in the gym and get swole, right? No, man. I mean, these are band exercises where you're working those muscles of external rotation, internal rotation, abduction, taking the arm away from the body. And, you know, for me, I have crappy shoulders. I was a Division I water polo player and Division II swimmer in college. And for some godforsaken reason, when you dislocate your shoulders and when you separate your shoulders and you get tendonitis, that kind of hurts when you get into your 30s, 40s, et cetera.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, you hear me. I can see with my eyes that you hear me. And the only way to keep yourself out of trouble is to do the work. Get out there, do your shoulder work. This is such a nerd move, but there's times when I might be stuck in the office a little bit too much, and I've got a rubber band on the door to do my shoulder exercises because I know for me, that is my least stable site in my body and where I need to do the most work. So keeping rotator cuff strong, number one. Number two, injury, elbow. An angler's elbow is typically what we call medial epicondylitis. So what that is, it's not a disorder of the elbow. And this is what drives me bonkers. Everyone's like, Doc, I got an elbow problem. They're like, yo, let me tell you what's wrong with you. It's an issue where your wrist is stuck in flexion. So if you don't take care of the wrist, stop the wrist from bending down, you're going to keep pulling where that muscle starts at the elbow. It is no different than tennis elbow, because one of the biggest things that I see in practice is that people don't realize you have to stop the wrist from moving, particularly at night. So slapping a wrist brace on to give it rest at night, because we tend to sleep like this or like this, is so important. And what's great about angler's elbow, fisherman's elbow, tennis, however you want to call it, right? Golfer's elbow, is that literally you get away with just doing like 2 or 3 exercises and a couple stretches. It's an easy fix. And the other thing too, so when you said, he's like, yeah, I notice I'm having some elbow pain when I cast, it's too much wrist action. I can tell you now, I'm not even seeing your cast, but having done cast dissection, for lack of a better word, you just are probably getting just a little bit too much wrist action on your forward cast. The way that I learned how to get rid of it was I have 2 daughters, grab a hairband, I put the hairband at the butt end of the rod and then around my wrist. It literally won't let you do this. And what's interesting about fly casting, there's a bunch of different ways to do it. The best way that I've had it described to me is that you're not throwing the rod. I mean, that just feels wrong too. It's almost like a punch.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, if I ever punched like that, I'd probably lose a fight. But I mean, just understanding basic mechanics. And I think, one of the benefits for me is that I didn't learn how to fly fish first. I learned how to properly fly cast first. I tried to fly fish. I failed. Probably not, a lot. But learning how to fly cast first puts you in a much better position to fly fish for longer periods of time. And that's why I think, start with the shoulder, do some things for the elbow when it gets problematic. But if your shoulder's strong, you're not going to have to cheat. We know that when you're throwing heavier weighted flies or heavier weighted fly lines, that is going to put you in a position of trouble. What happens is you'll cheat. Instead of the overhand cast, the safest cast, according to the research, you're going to start coming out to the side. You're not necessarily going to go full sidearm, but you start cheating at 3/4. And what that does is you have to cheat at the elbow, and it pulls right in the medial elbow. So, I know that's a grossly scientific way to kind of approach the science of fly fishing and the medical side of fly fishing. But at the end of the day, 2 things come out of it. Number 1, shoulder strong. Number 2, your elbow's related to your wrist. Number 3, if you're using your wrist, stop using your wrist. I feel like that's easy, but it's way harder.
It is, especially if you have a ton of bad habits already.
Yeah.
So for some basic exercises to strengthen specifically the shoulder, because I feel like most people don't work on their shoulders ever.
No, I think they do, but they're big muscle strong, they're small muscle weak. And that's what I would say. And people don't work on the rotator cuff muscles of the shoulder, the stabilizing muscles of the shoulder.
Yeah, because most even professional lifters or stuff, they're spending a lot of time with light weights before they lift, doing rotation with little 5-pound or 2.5-pound plates.
That's how I start.
And then, rotate. There's a lot of rotator cuff warm-up exercise they do prior to going and putting 200 pounds over their head or something crazy.
That's the thing. So when you're lifting, right, if you don't have the stabilization, say you're doing a bench press, right, and you don't have the rotator cuff stabilizers, you're going to fail. Yeah. And you're going to fail and you're going to hurt yourself. And the rotator cuff is the thing that's going to fail. It's not going to be your pecs, And those are the big muscles that you work on when you're doing bench press. And like I said, it's so easy. All you need is a band, do those same things, pull in, pull out, back, forward, it's literally 4 exercises that could keep you out of trouble. Now you could obviously expand on that. You can go side to side, you can go apart. There's a whole bunch of rotator cuff exercises. You can look them up online. because God knows I'm not a physical therapist. I'm not pretending to be one. But, if you are at least doing something to stay strong, the likelihood of injury goes down. And I think that's huge.
Well, yeah, and that's important for longevity because once it starts to go bad, you're going to start losing time on the water, which nobody wants.
Yeah.
You don't want.
No, and I think that's the interesting thing is that what we found is that fly fishing itself doesn't injure you. It's other things that hurt when you fly fish. Does that make sense, right? And you usually come in with rotator cuff tendonitis where those muscles are pissed off, and what happens is understanding the spectrum of disease. Your rotator cuff, gets tendonitis. So you're looking at a structure that looks like a rubber band. Over time, it gets a little bit harder. There's spots in there that are a little bit weak, ripped microscopically, and that muscle tears, all right? And that muscle tears, you lose strength. When that muscle tears, the ball starts to head up towards the acromioclavicular joint, the clavicle, the upper parts of the scapula there, and that's when you get arthritis. So it's a spectrum of disease because usually shoulder arthritis is secondary to a rotator cuff tear. Gotcha. So it continues to go back to if you take care of your rotator cuff now and early, your likelihood, where every good fly fisherman tears their rotator cuff, is probably not true.
So I feel like you're just going to spend the rest of your life just debasing that comment. So it's just like your life goal.
It is. And
that's a good thing.
I love Dave Leonard. I absolutely love the guy. The guy is a wizard instructor. And, I think that the stuff that they do at Orvis Streamside up in Traverse City is unbelievable. And one of my favorite things to do is when I go up to TC is pop into the shop and catch Dave. He's like, hey, what's happening? I haven't seen you, and he doesn't instruct as much as he used to. But I just feel extremely blessed and fortunate that somehow like this, I think he was like a top 50 instructor in the United States, took the time, like he taught me one-on-one a bunch. And as part of that Trout Unlimited Fly Camp, and I just think that because of him, I have been, him and Denny and a bunch of other folks that have got me into fly fishing, it's put me in such a good place. I just got stupid lucky on the people that have been around. I've been around. They somehow found me. I found them, and
that's what happens when you do stuff.
Well, got to get out there and do it, right? Yeah.
I find the same thing, when you get really passionate about something, you're like, how did I meet these people? Like, I'm just a dude.
Yeah.
And then you're like friends with the editor of Texas Fish and Game, and we're like calling each other every day. And it's fun because I feel like fly fishing has a much more connection than traditional fishing. Because when you're out on the water, this dude's in my spot. Or that happens in fly fishing too.
He's crowding me.
Yeah, or there's this dude's in my little area of the lake where I always fish. And it's like
spin caster's in my way.
Yeah, it feels so super competitive in a lot of aspects. But fly fishing, I don't really get that. I haven't been out that much, and I'm usually the only guy fly fishing anywhere 100%. I go. But I just love it, and the people are there's a lot of passionate fishermen out there in general, but I'm not getting instruction or advice from the old crusty dude that's fishing out the side of the road or on the side of the dock who's smoking a cigarette as the same as I'm getting from a dude fly fishing out there. He's just like, hey, what fly are you using? Can you do this better? And it's like, I don't know. I feel like they're just always excited, especially around here, to see another fly fisher. I can't say the same thing out west. They're probably like, get out of my face. But
I was at Wiregrass Lake. I don't know what I was mad at. I just needed to go blow off some steam. I just wasn't functioning right. And, I was trying to work on my spay fishing because spay fishing and spay casting are completely different animals. And I saw these two, probably, 12-year-old kids with fly rods. I'm like, yo, dudes, cool fly rods. They're like, thanks, bro. and I think it actually is like that. I've been to Mad River Outfitters down in Columbus. Byron Flesh, I just walked up and talked to him. Dude was so nice. It's same thing. Tom Rosenbauer, who thinks he'd talk to you like he's your friend? No, these genuinely are how people are. And I think that the more people who have that welcoming persona, that welcoming personality, that open to talk, and who are willing to engage or at least ask questions, that's how this sport grows. And it's such a great sport when it comes to, conservation, and believe me, I don't think catch and release is the end all be all. There's a lot of issues with that. That's a whole nother podcast that we don't need to crash into.
We can. I'm totally cool.
Yeah, but here's the whole thing. Look, I'm one of those guys, like, look, I don't harvest. That's just not me. Why? Because my wife hates fish. Again, see how it comes back to my wife. Sorry, Brie. I'm not going to bring those home. I don't want to do the work to harvest the fish. Someone else is getting paid for it. I'm fine with it. But those who do harvest fish, that's awesome. Great. Because those fish are going to die at some time, whether it be by you, by a bird of prey, an otter, beaver. We can give many different options of what can kill any fish. And we know that catch and release isn't perfect, and somewhere in the neighborhood of, we'll say 25%, which sounds like a reasonable number, will die after you catch and release them.
Well, one of the things that really, I don't say it bugs me, but I feel terrible is, so there's a limit on X size you can keep of fish. So a bass in Michigan has to be over 14 inches. Well, out of just dumb luck, sometimes they swallow the hook and you're like, well, I can't keep it legally.
Yeah.
But the chances of it surviving now are pretty low. And it's like, what do I break the law, or do I just let it go? And
so one of the greatest books I read that kind of help instill in me that you don't have to catch and release everything is a book by Tim Traver. It's called Lost in the Driftless. And first off, when you talk about fish eating hooks, believe it or not, the survivability is higher than you think it is, because they'll eventually spit it out. So they're not necessarily going to drown. I mean, God knows how big a bass's mouth is.
Yeah.
Huge. It's okay. And that's the whole thing. Look, I mean, I've been fishing for years. I have not met a game warden. I would like to, and thank them for doing such a great job in conservation, but I haven't seen one out there. I don't think anyone's going to ever criticize you for doing that, because you felt like, if obviously it's bleeding, it's not going to live much longer. And there shouldn't be a stigmata associated with that, because at the end of the day, you're probably doing what's best for the fish. And if you kept a 13-incher instead of a 14-incher, I mean, I wouldn't know. Most of mine are about somewhere between, 18 and 20 grams.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I know. I keep telling my boy Nick, I'm like, Nick, you got to put me on 20s. I said, because if it's not a 20, I don't take pictures. All right? Just put them right back in the water. So this is going to be texted to Nick at Schultz Outfitter and be like, we're going to come up. Paul and I are going to come up, and you're going to take us out, and nothing under 22. So we're just going to up the game with nothing.
And we're not paying if it's under 22.
No, dude's got to make a living. We can't do that. But you know what I mean? It's, the spirit of conservation is well maintained. The execution of conservation sometimes gets lost when we try and do it, maybe inappropriately. But I think it's, as long as we're trying, it's cool.
Yeah. Well, and a game warden situation. I had a friend we went fishing a couple of weeks ago on Lake La Suan, and he moved up here from down south.
Yeah.
He bought a kayak and we were going fishing. I didn't even think to, I've lived here for so long now, probably 7-8 years, where I'm just like, yeah, you have to register your boat. He had no idea. Yeah. He's like, everywhere I've ever been, you just buy a kayak and it's not a big deal.
Ironically, you don't have to register your boat if it's in Michigan.
Not in Michigan.
Not in Michigan. Michigan's okay. So,
but if
my
you
kayak kind of lives in Michigan.
That's what that was another question.
So it's at Denny's house.
If you have a kayak and you bought it in Michigan and you come to Ohio and they ask for registration, you're like, well, I'm from Michigan.
Exactly.
But he lives in Ohio.
Which I did buy the kayak in Michigan, so it's okay.
But he lives in Ohio.
Yeah.
So the game warden, I was like, oh shit, here we go.
Yeah.
And he was super cool. He's like, dude, just get it registered before you come back out fishing again. And he let us fish. No questions asked.
The hard part about it, and again, I'm not criticizing the state on this one. I think the Ohio DNR does a great job. I think fishing licenses in Ohio are extremely affordable and accessible. Oh, yeah. I mean, my God, I think I just got a 5-year renewal for $75. That's
thinking about getting the lifetime.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if I'm living in Ohio for the rest of my life.
Yeah, but it's good for the rest of your life.
But at the same time, too, it goes to conservation, so it's not the worst idea.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay, anyways. But, I mean, you have to go. It's not an easy thing to do to get it registered, right? You have to take it to
the BMV.
Yeah, or a DNR office, right? So the DNR office is at, what's it called? In Oregon, the state park.
Maumee Bay.
Yeah. I think it's at Maumee Bay.
I'm not sure.
I think, but that's
I
the
just
whole
went
thing.
to the BMV.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not that fancy with my kayak, which is why I live in Michigan, so I don't have to carry it everywhere. But like throwing it in the back of my vehicle is not easy, and I don't want to hurt my shoulders.
Yeah,
lifting. It's only 75 pounds. I don't really want to lift it on top of my truck.
Well, I've been fishing out of a kayak forever because I just love it. You can sneak up to fish. It's quiet.
Yeah.
There's just so simple. You have a paddle. You have a life jacket. You have a kayak, and whatever fits between your legs.
Good call on the life jacket, by the way.
Love it.
We checked that box.
Required in Ohio to have on your boat.
That's right.
So I'm actually been on a quest to find the perfect fishing kayak, and I think I finally found it.
Oh yeah, what are you rolling?
I want to buy. It's called a Crescent Shoaly. It's shoal bass is what it's kind of named around, and it's made 100% in the USA.
Yep.
Everything. And the reason I want it is because it's supposed to be one of the more stable kayaks to stand up in for fly fishing.
Yeah.
And there's not a bunch of crap all over the floor like the ones you get around here. There's like consoles.
Yeah.
And like fly line gets caught on everything. I've fly fished out of a rowboat, which is pretty open. And it still gets caught on everything.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want it to be purposeful for regular old spin fishing and fly fishing. Made in America.
Yep.
A little expensive, but
yeah.
For I just love being able to have that choice to go out on the water.
So I do. You've heard of Bonafide? Bonafide's a brand out of North Carolina. It's an American-made brand. They have a trimarine hull, so it's super stable. That's what I rotate out of, and their price point I don't think was terrible. It's like $800.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I mean we're not talking like Old Town, like where you're spending $2,000. But I mean,
kind of what this one is.
Well, yeah, but it's true. So if you look at some of the Old Town kayaks, like the electric motors. Dude, like the ones where you just be like, oh, I'm gonna go on my phone and hit hold, and it just GPS holds you in place. Like,
I feel like Bill Dance,
bro, WTF, right? Like that is so crazy awesome. But I'm not ready for that type of commitment yet because to me, if I got to get an Old Town kayak, which is, I mean, those run about 14, 15 feet because the Bonafides you can get like 10.5 to 12 feet, which is a little bit more palatable. They're wider. They have good weight ratio because you and I, we're not small dudes. We're big dudes. We're swole.
Yeah.
And but the Old Towns, I mean that technology with the electric motors right now, like
nuts.
It is like you don't even need a pull, like a push pull or anything like that. So I mean, I think for me, that would be the next step, maybe if you don't get a drift boat. But that's the whole thing. Like,
a drift boat's a little up in the price range for me right now.
But you can get a good used one, you know. But the problem is someone's got to paddle. Yeah, I mean, you can't just float it all the time.
Well, and drift boat, I've been in a drift boat. It's really cool. I'm friends with Brad, who owns Wildwood Anglers, and I filmed the first commercial for his fly shop years ago, and crashed my drone. Bought it brand new, crashed it the day later. But anyway, being in a drift boat is very cool. It's like being in a giant banana.
Well, I think so. Let's like it's hard because Brad is a great dude. Seems like he's bitten off a little bit more than he can chew. That's one of the issues with Toledo, is that we don't have a big fly shop here. Mm-hmm. And, you've got so many options in Northern Michigan. I mean, again, the Northern Angler also in Traverse City is such a cool place to go. I mean, Schultz's, there's Orvis stores pocketed all over the place, and they're all good, which is, you want to hear something funny? I love doing sidebar conversations, by the way.
Let's go.
So I did my fellowship at the Cleveland Clinic, and, our godfather of sports medicine, big fly fisherman, right? My program director, like, he's a good dude, older guy, and it's crazy because I went back to Cleveland because he had retired, and I stopped in the Orvis store. I'm like, what the heck? AJ's here? So my former sports medicine program director and half the people that worked in sports medicine at the Cleveland Clinic 15 years ago are now all work at Orvis in Cleveland, which is awesome. So they all think it's cool and that I fly fish and do the research, which I love that sidebar conversation because it is a lifetime job. And I mean, they're honestly just work for the discounts. I mean, those guys are set for life, but they want that 40% to 50% off pro discount there.
I mean, fly fishing can be expensive. It can be.
You just got to spread it out, Well,
you can't go into a shop and want to buy 40 flies.
Yeah. And look, I am a big believer. I bought my first two big rods from Brad at Wildwood Anglers, but there are better ways to acquire equipment, and I think for folks getting into fly fishing, kind of like you said, like there's nothing wrong with buying a rod on Amazon. There's nothing wrong with buying a full kit, with a fly line included, case, etc.
Especially if you don't know if you're going to like it.
I mean, there's like, you look at like companies like Wet Fly Fish, like they make nice stuff that's super affordable. It sells in Costco. Not in Toledo.
I was going to say, I'm going right now.
I understand. And look, I love Costco too. There's so many sponsors that could be sponsoring this episode because of how many we've mentioned today.
I wish they would.
Yeah, I don't think Costco sponsors
TFO, anything. Where are you at?
Texas, actually. It's in Texas.
I know.
Trust me, I know. I paid the $25 for shipping anytime I order something for myself. But, you don't need much. And, you could spend... I think you could spend $100, $120 and you could get a setup that is going to work for you.
So if you had, say, I'm going to give you a budget.
Give me a budget.
I'm going to give you a budget and I'm going to be like, okay, my name is Steve.
Yeah.
And I heard your podcast. I want to go fly fishing.
Yeah.
I got $350 to get me everything I need to go, right? Like this weekend, I want to go fly fishing. Where would you direct that money? Where would you allocate the majority and where would you skimp out? And
So this is a tough question because immediately when you said that, I'm like, okay, I think I know what rod I'd go for. I think I know what reel. And then it started adding up, right?
Real quick.
Yeah, it did. So, the TFO Pro 3 is such a great entry rod. But I believe they retail around $278. So that bites us in the butt there. Orvis Clearwater is like $225, I think, for a rod. And then you're spending $100 on a reel. So the TFO NTR, $150. So, you get stuck there. So what I would say is I would go and I would get any reputable company. So I would say, when I say reputable company, we'll say Orvis, TFO, Sage. Sage makes some great rods, by the way. The R8 is disgusting. I want one, but those things are like driving a freaking Ferrari F1. And I don't even like Ferrari F1. I'm more of a Red Bull F1 guy. But anyways, it's such a high quality rod. So I would go to one of those major rod manufacturers that pumps out a lot of rods. And I would find one of their kits. Because one of those kits, it's going to set you back $120, probably $120 to $150. You're going to get a quality. I would say a 5 or 6 weight. I would actually lean towards a 5 weight, 9 foot rod with a weight forward floating line, which is what you need. We all know fly reels outside of Able are useless on fly rods, and Able fly reels are just pieces of art. And way too expensive, and I want so many of them, but I will not use them for their appropriate. But anyways, I would get one of those kits. And then what I do is I would go to a local fly shop, and I would say, give me 5 flies, 2 of each fly, that will catch me a bass or a panfish. And I think I would start there because one of the things that there's gear, like everyone thinks that fly fishermen need a vest, which I'm going to just squash right now, and even a hip pack. I don't think you need either one of those. And I, of course, have both. And I don't use my vest that often because there's so many freaking pockets and I forget where I put stuff. But you could easily start with a lanyard. So lanyard will send you back about $20, $25. And then on that lanyard, you'll have what you need. You have your pliers to take out a hook. You'll have snips. You might have a tying tool, and you'll have a card to hold your flies. Mm-hmm. I don't think you need floating. I don't think you need fly drying. I think you can go super cheap. So if I were to do my math, I would argue that we're probably under $200 there.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I did. Yeah. I got the TFO NXT Black Label combo, which is about $250. Yeah. But when you know people, it's less.
Yeah.
And
do not share your pro discounts if anyone's listening. You're not allowed to do that legally.
I'm not. I did not say that.
I know, but I don't. In case there's any question, if TFO is listening, I do not share my pro discount.
I don't have any pro discounts, so this would not be on me.
I feel like you need to work in, like you do know, it's just an application process, right? Yeah. All you gotta do is apply.
Yeah. I'm just lazy.
That's you problem, not a me problem.
That is a me problem. And I bought I think it was used on Amazon, Allen chest pack, a little mini one for $25. and I stuff my flies in the little box in there. I got a pair of pliers. I got a pair of snips.
Yep.
And I got various other crap that I've acquired.
Yeah.
But essentially, I like the chest pack because it just sits in my car.
Yeah.
And then when I want to go, I have the combo kit and I have the chest pack. I throw it on, run around a lake a couple of times, do a couple laps,
Yep.
back in the car, good to go. And
Yeah.
I think that was $300 out the door.
Well, I think the other thing too is talking about waders and wading boots. Like we didn't cover that, and I think that's an interesting topic because everybody thinks you need to fly fish in a river. You don't.
I rarely do.
Because the only river we have around here is very large and very brown and often polluted, and it's most famous for walleye, which is not actually fun to catch on the fly.
I haven't even tried.
They're like a rock bass, aka the French bass. They give up easily. But I mean, it's a bad joke. We love French people. We are not les incompetents.
Hey, we're coming up on the 4th of July. We can say whatever we want.
Yeah, freedom. But I mean, waders and wading boots are absolutely not an important part of a fly fisherman's arsenal. I think it's important if I lived in TC, which I would love to do, by the way, it's just not happening because they do have a great Costco up there too. Costco, please sponsor the show.
That would be the greatest moment of my life.
Yes, it would be so awesome.
I love Costco.
We're gonna call one of the managers over there. I'll call him Randy. I see him at the front door all the time. But like if I lived in a place where they had wadable rivers on a regular basis, and the Huron's a wadable river, you have to be careful. There's deep spots. You have to know the water a little bit. You could get away with Bass Pro Shop waders and boots for under $150. Like you don't have to. I think I got my dad frog togs, which
That's what I have.
yeah, I think
They're great.
Yeah, Sierra.com has great cheap stuff. And I think he got them for like $75. They gave him a pair of my old boots.
Yep. I got them whatever they sell at Bass Pro.
The only thing I would say is that particularly if you're fishing in multiple different locations, making sure you get rubber-soled boots.
I do.
Yeah, so that's super important. They had Didymo, which is an invasive species in northern Michigan. You don't want to track that from river to river. It's rock snot, I believe, is the common name for that. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Biology class pass. Anything in a river, you just want to make sure you wash off after you're done, let it dry. And then essentially any bleach material to clean off the soles in your waders and letting that dry as well. And so, I mean, it's very important for me to be a responsible fly fisherman. And I started off with felt boots, which I loved. I think they were great, nice and soft, quiet, but rubbers are more appropriate. Yeah.
I got waders because when I went to Oklahoma for my first time to fly fish, the water was still really cold.
Yeah.
And the river was not very shallow.
Oh, interesting.
This was like 6 months ago. So it was like still warming up.
January?
Yeah,
6 months ago.
Maybe. January. Maybe it was
December?
more like April.
Okay.
It was still cold. The water
like
was
2 months
freezing.
ago.
Yeah, well, I'm not. It feels like 6 months ago, and I'm not very good with measuring time. Every year that progresses, I say I've been hunting and fishing for about 6 years, and it's been like way longer than that. So just don't pay attention. I'm spitballing.
Yeah.
But, and it was still chilly, and like this time of year, I probably would just go in the water because I like being in the water anyway.
Yep.
For me, they're not really practical unless I'm kind of in that situation where I'm kind of cold.
Yeah.
And putting them on and wearing the boots is kind of a big pain in the ass. And I don't really enjoy it. It hurts my feet.
Yeah.
It's like, I'd rather just get some crappy wading shoes and go in the river.
This is also a great idea. The problem is you can't go in the Mommy without footwear. Let's be very clear about that.
No, I wouldn't do
That is a
that.
terrible idea. And it's
Closed-toed shoes.
Yes, 100%.
Because I've done it in sandals, kayaking when the river was too shallow, and I just bang the crap out of my feet. You have to have closed toe if you're going to go in the Mommy.
The other thing too is if you're wading, get a wading stick. Look, I mean, I'm in my early 40s.
holes.
I'm pretty healthy. All right, I'm relatively athletic still. But I mean, no one wants to fall in the river. No one. That looks stupid, and it's not fun. No one likes
sharp.
to get overly wet. Yes, there's probably some glass in there. Maybe some feces. We don't know.
A dead body in a five.
I don't know. I don't think they found a body in the river lately.
It's
Maybe the Ottawa River, but yeah.
I don't.
I don't go in that river.
Yeah.
That one's actually more polluted than the Mummy.
It's true, but I heard a guy, a story. There's some seriously good white bass fishing and some northern pike, like in little pockets, like corner pockets up there. So, I would almost not necessarily go the Ottawa River, but just go, I think it's 10 Mile Creek, right, that runs through Sylvania, right? Like hitting that stretch from like 475 up to like Northview and just like weighting that.
That would be fun.
Like maybe like a little 4-weight, like a little beater, like a tiny little 4-weight, 8-foot 4-weight, just pounding the banks and see what kind of pops up there. That's a trip.
I want to get a 2 or a 3-weight so badly.
So I feel you. All right. That was one of my early moves. All right. And I'm not knocking the rod company because I think St. Croix is a great American rod company. But the problem with those is that the tips are so soft and you're most likely to break at the tip. I broke my 3-weight tip off 3 times. Granted, St. Croix repairs it for free. It's a great company. It's out of Minnesota, Wisconsin, wherever St. Croix is, right? But yeah, I think it's great. I continue to go back. Like if you're going to have kids, get a 8-foot 5-weight or some shorter 5-weight beater rod where they can cast it and you're not worried about it breaking.
I just want to catch panfish on it and just make it feel like it's the biggest fish alive.
We'll go out. All right, I'll let you use the 4-weight. I think you'll get the same feeling,
Okay, fair.
Yeah, I think that you got to be careful with the 3-weights. And one of the things that I'm disappointed in TFO for not doing, they used to have a 3-weight combo that would go from, I don't want to say like a 7 to 10 foot. So you can make it like a panfish rod and get it all the way to a Euro nymph setup, which was crazy awesome, but they don't make it anymore. And that was such a cool rod. And that rod was only like $300. So, I mean, again, that's high quality rods, high value prices.
Yeah.
So something to think about.
Yeah. I mean, TFO, I usually don't put out a lot of info about brands, but I've really been happy with that. Even that rod, the lower end of what they make.
Yeah.
I just love it. And I'm not worried about it. Like the $500 custom rod, I'm like, but the TFO, I'm like, let's go. And I'm bashing it into trees and I'm flinging it into stuff. And I'm like, whatever happens, happens.
But that's the whole thing too. Like, obviously they have great warranties on TFO rods. They have a lifetime warranty on the majority of the rods. But I mean, most of your high quality rods, even your Orvis Clearwater, has a 25-year warranty on it. Like, I mean, I don't know where I'm going to be in 20 years, but I don't know if I'm going to be using that rod. It's going to be my son's rod, Like, so
it's good to have a rod too that you can throw to a buddy who's like, absolutely, fishing's stupid.
No,
like,
man,
dude, let's go.
Yeah, here, slam my 5-weight. Yeah,
let's play.
No, and I think that's super important too, which is why you need rods in your quiver, extra rods in your quiver.
So for my next rod, since I'm very passionate about bass, would you say 9-weight? Would I go to a
no, absolutely not. No, I would do an 8-weight. An 8-weight is probably the second most versatile fly rod that you can get. So 9-foot 8-weight can get you most, if not all, bass on the fly. You could even switch out some of your lines and do like saltwater fishing. I mean,
that'll happen eventually because I know myself.
I mean, I'm going to Insta those pics. Hopefully I catch some fish down South Carolina. Question mark. I think so. I mean, I feel like we're fishing with a good dude. Cleve, he sounds like a good dude. It was highly recommended by the Orvis Fly Shop down there. So, I mean, I think he's going to kill it. I just worry about my dad falling off the boat.
Is it flats fishing?
Yeah, it's flats fishing. Yeah. So sight fishing. So you're doing 40, 50 feet cast, which I love distance casting, like pounded out there 80 to 100 feet. Like that's just disgusting. It's all line management skills, right? But a 9-foot 8-weight is definitely the next rod. So you said you have the 5-weight, right? That's technically a 5-weight rod?
I have 3 5-weights.
That's a bit much.
Well, yeah. I had the TFO. I have the TFO. That was my first one. Then I have the Mudfish Adventure rod, which was the custom one.
Yep.
And then I bought a crappy one that I can throw in my thing because I travel so much. I can just throw it in my carry-on and it doesn't matter.
That's the 6-piece, right?
It's a piece of crap, but it's fun. It's so light.
I don't know. I mean,
would it make you feel better if there's a $20 reel on it too? Does that hurt your soul?
It doesn't hurt my soul because reels are stupid except for anal reels because they are works of art. No, I mean, I think, look, there's
what about the $30 fly line?
That hurts. That does. I think my heart broke a little bit on that one. Like, get a nice flat line for frick's sake.
No, I've learned that lesson.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, first off, I feel like that's a mistake, but it's not like the worst mistake you could make. Again, I look at fly rods as like arrows in a quiver, right? They all like I'm Hawkeye, bro. Like I've got a rod. I've got a rod for every occasion, right? So instead of using that 5 weight now for steelhead, I've got a 10'7" weight with the shooting head, which is so freaking cool. Like it's sage. My 8 weight is a LK Legacy spay cast, the 2-handed rod, and it's just such a smooth spay casting rod. It's freaking 13.6. It's huge. Then I've got 9'9" weight for saltwater. My 6 weight is the Orvis Helios, which it's my favorite rod right now. Like, and again, and the reason is just it's the combination of the rod, the Hydrus reel is solid. It's a solid reel, and then the SA bass line. Like the SA bass line came out about 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, they over-engineered the crap out of it, and I think it is such a great all-purpose fishing rod for this area. I still have, again, my 5 weight Clearwater. My 3 and 4 are both St. Croix. And that's my whole quiver. Mm-hmm. So essentially 3 through 9 is what I'm rolling. The next rods I look at are going to be specialty rods, like a glass rod, whether I get a 5 weight glass rod, whether any bamboo rod. I'm very particular. I mean, you can get great used bamboo on eBay, but you just got to be careful, and I think that there are so many great micro, like almost micro brewers, but micro bamboo fly rod crafters in the United States. That's probably the best way to go about getting one, but that's going to demand $2,000 to $3,000.
See, that's I'm not to that point yet. Yeah. What's the appeal of bamboo over everything?
So it's first off, it's sexy. It looks phenomenal. Bamboo is the OG rod material. It's the most flexible wood. Now, obviously, I'm not a woodsmith, even though I am a smith out there. But the flex and stiffness of a bamboo rod is great. So split bamboo is essentially 6 pieces of bamboo glued together in that hex position. And it just looks cool. It's something different when you cast with a bamboo rod. And it's super slow. It's butter slow, and it's one of those things that as you progress through your fly fishing career, it's just such a cool tool. And it's not a tool. It's for you, but it's for your kid. Like I look, my son Blaze is 5. And I hope the child will fish with me a little bit at some point or another, but he's 5. You should see him at T-ball. It's terrible. I want to pass that down to him. I want to pass that down to my grandchildren someday. And I think it's a legacy piece. Is it a piece of fly fishing that you can pass to other generations? Look, these graphite rods will be great. They'll last for a long period of time, but they don't have the aura about it, the mystique, the history, and the amount of time. I mean, it takes like weeks to build a proper bamboo fly rod. Wow. And understanding and appreciating that craftsmanship, to me, I think is very important. In saying that, I probably need to get a glass rod first because, again, casting glass is like nothing else. I mean, a 4 or 5 weight glass rod in bass, like that's just,
we'll get together and I'll let you cast mine.
That's good.
I don't know enough,
yeah,
but I know that rod is badass because I picked it up without having terrible technique, and I was like,
butter, yeah,
whoa,
yeah.
And now I treat it like a small child, and I'm very delicate with it, and I cast the crap out.
But you got to get over that. It's a tool, you have to use the tool safely.
I just am like when I'm carrying it around, I'm like, better not touch it, not hit anything.
We just got to build your quiver up. I think that's the answer. I think. Get an 8 weight. You're not going to need a 9 weight. 9 weight's going to be too heavy. I mean, unless you're going if you're going big northern pike, big musky fishing.
I'd love to do that.
Oh yeah, those are musky on a fly. Yikes. But pike, I love pike. I've caught my first pike last year out in Indiana, and
they're so aggressive.
Dude, yeah, but they just quit on you. So
yeah, they do.
So the story is actually pretty cool. So I was fishing. I think it's called the Complete Fisherman. It's right there off the highway in Angola. Okay. And we got skunked. He'd not guided before. It was his first time guiding, and we were just going for bass. And it was windy. It was sunny. We were just getting skunked. And, I threw one of those flies on, and I caught a panfish just to say I didn't get skunked. And, I'm tired. I'm ready to call it. My wife's like, where the hell are you? And we hear this, and it was probably 60, 70 feet away. So I paddle over there. I said, that sounded like a frog. So I put on my biggest frog fly that I could find, right? And I'm like, oh, crap. I think I got hooked on one of the reeds. And it's got the weed guards on it. And I'm like, oh, whatever. I'm done. I'm just gonna go home, call it a day, and be like, you know what? It's cool. This guy's a good dude. We're just gonna call it today. And I'm like, well, hey, what's going on here? And then, it's just a little bit of a shake. And then it's like, all right, cool. I got a 26-inch northern pike. Yay. And then I was fishing. I was out fishing.
Rocket.
It was. And I'll tell you, we were on the Grand River and fishing Game Changers. And I had the best hit that I ever had on a fly from a 20-inch northern pike. And it just slammed the fly, destroyed it, and swam right to the boat. So
that was exciting.
Yeah, it was great. It gave up quickly. You want to fight. That's the cool thing about smallies. Smallies will give you a fight. You get a pretty good fight out of, a panfish as well. But I mean, that's the hard part about northern pike is that they take some amazing, amazing takes. And they just kind of give up on you. And the hard part about northern pike is, from a safety standpoint, you want to not necessarily grab them by the gills, and you certainly don't want to put your hand in their mouth because it ain't coming back. And you just got to be smart by handling them and doing it safely. Yeah,
and they're so slimy.
No, they are pretty nasty.
They're hard to hold.
They smell.
Yeah, they got to.
I mean, all fish smell, but they smell.
Yeah, they will leave
bad.
A pungent smell on your hand for a minute.
Differous odor. Yeah.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah, but they're fun to catch. It's just
I love catching them.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to them, and this is a quality northern pike sandwich as well.
Yeah, and people are so weird about eating them, and I'm like, I will eat them. I'll eat anything.
So here, what's your hot take? See, I love this pulling a hot take here. The interviewee becomes the interviewer.
Let it rip.
Yeah, what's your hot take on carp being renamed Kopi in parts of Illinois? Oh, you heard this, right? All right, so we know carp is an invasive species, the Asian carp particularly, right? Yep.
And I know that fly fishermen adore them for the fight.
Oh, they're so hard to catch.
Yeah.
They are the most... I mean, I think that might be our next, instead of going bass fishing, we should go carp fishing and torture our lives.
I know the president of Wild Sheep Foundation, Gray Thornton, is obsessed with carp fishing.
Because they're hard to catch.
He loves them.
They are so finicky, and they are not smart. And their mouths are this big, So, I mean, for me, you can go to side cut and you can see these freaking massive 3-foot carp, but you can't catch them.
Yeah,
you can't catch them. But apparently, to try and decrease the population of carp in the Chicagoland area, the Asian carp, they're selling it as Kopi. They're renaming it.
I mean, I would eat it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd try it. I mean, I don't hear it's terrible. I mean, you eat lionfish now. I mean, you have to be careful how you cut it. But I mean, it's just interesting to me how... And I think appropriate too, how to make an invasive species make it work, and I think that's great that people are doing that. I don't know if renaming a fish makes it any better though,
I don't have a stigma against eating anything. I think it's a weird, fish already is probably the least thing that people like in general. Overall, they're everybody's cool with beef, everybody's cool with chicken, and then fish, some people are like, no way.
I think there's probably some shellfish people don't want to eat
Yeah. But we're in the Midwest,
this is
so
true.
It's not a thing we
Nobody
do
eats a zebra mussel.
Yeah. I don't know if you should.
You probably shouldn't.
But they're but for example, I went to a hunting camp last year and we shot a merganser and everybody's like, I'm not eating this. Me and my buddy were like, does anybody actually tried it though? And we're always experimenting. And we're drunk. Let's grill it. Let's see what happens.
I mean, that's the answer. You grill everything, right?
It was fine.
Yeah.
My buddy went and did the white bass run on the Maumee. Caught a crap ton of them, as you do, and he took them home and cooked them, and he said they were totally fine.
Oh.
He said it's not like eating tuna, but it's like he said it wasn't terrible. Like,
but striper has that same like stigmata. I mean, the striped bass is, it's a giant seafaring fish, but nobody wants to eat them. But yet they'll eat like white chowder, which I think is striped bass is like part of that. Like that's one of the things that you can put in a white striper and white chowder. I don't know what these things are, but yeah,
I've come up with a conclusion, and it might not be true, but it probably is. I'll say that. Is that I think when people say stuff like that, they're just shitty cooks and they don't know how to cook anything. Because like, I like to peg myself as a decent cook. I can cook pretty okay, and I think at least people in my general circle of friends would mildly agree with me.
Yeah.
And when you cook stuff and you treat it appropriately, it doesn't suck. Like we cooked shark. Cobia, all this weird stuff that people around here would never eat. And they're like, this is
cobia.
great.
Yeah,
Cobia is delicious.
It is amazing.
But it was the shark was a real big turnoff, and I just cooked it like fish.
Yeah.
Fried it a little bit, and they're like, oh, this is great.
Blacken the edges there.
Yeah, it's great. Or blackened. It's awesome.
It's not even like a swordfish. Essentially, it's the same way you cook it, right?
It's just delicious.
Yeah.
People prefer it down in Texas. A lot of people go on charters to catch shark and eat it. I didn't know this. So I think a lot of people just suck at cooking. Like some guy that his wife's been cooking casserole for him his whole life. He doesn't know shit about cooking. He's like, oh, that fish, I cooked it once and it sucked. Like, well, what did you do with it? Like, what did you just throw it in a pan and burn it? And you're like, this sucks.
I battered it in cornmeal and I fried it with peanut oil, and it just didn't taste good.
Yeah, like, no shit, it didn't taste good. You suck at cooking. That's the root of the problem.
I think it's not necessarily suck at cooking. They suck at spicing it correctly. Yeah. I mean, they underestimate the salt content you need to make something taste better, right?
Yeah. I agree. Well, hey, man, this has been super fun. I think hopefully we can get together and fish someday. It would be super fun. I just don't know why there's not that many people I know that will try it. Well, I do know why, because it's intimidating sport. Yeah. It is really intimidating to a lot of people, but I think we can change that by showing them that it's really fun.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
The first time you hook a fish on a fly rod, you're like,
dude,
whoa.
Yeah, it's fun. Like I remember my kids catching their first fish on a fly rod, and it's amazing. The smile on their face is disgusting. It's worth it. And it's, look, I don't know if my children will ever really fly fish. I don't particularly care. I want them to enjoy the outdoors.
Yeah.
And I just want folks to know, if anybody actually listens to the entire podcast, please, please, please understand you are welcome to fly fish. There are plenty of great values, plenty of venues, and plenty of great folks that would welcome you in. And I don't know of a single person that I mean, maybe one person, he's kind of old though, that wouldn't be like, hey man, let's go out fishing. Let's try it. Yeah, come on. We'll just run down to the pond. I'll teach you how to cast. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I want folks to take away is it's welcoming. We're all welcoming. We're doing, there are people that are doing things to push the sport forward. This is not a sport for just old white men. Everyone is welcome. And please, please, please talk to someone about getting involved and get outside.
Agreed. Well, thanks, man, for coming in. This has been super fun. Yep. I learned a lot about fishing, and I'm glad to know someone locally who fishes now.
We'll help you out, bro. I know a couple guys. We're going to get you hooked with other guys who know how to get you hooked. And I think that's the answer. Yep.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Aptitude Outdoors podcast. If you're getting anything out of this, if you're learning something, if it's helped you in any way, go down in the link below and buy me a coffee. Throw me $1. Throw me $2. We greatly appreciate it. Just using it to keep this ship afloat. So thank you very much.